All
Okay.
right. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Boring Talks. You're listening in with me, Shiva. This is episode 9, and this is being streamed on the WBS channel. So, with me today, we have Adithya Sanjeev, who's on the left side of the screen. So, that's the welcome symbol from him. So, he's been, the vice chairman of NISB since, in the year 2018-19. That was his tenure. And he's here to talk about leadership in a student branch. Right now, we're all very aware about the great leaders in the world. APJ Abdul Kalam. In a way, Steve Jobs. He was the CEO of Apple. But I want to know how to control, or rather, how to manage a student branch in effect. Right. So, Adi, first of all, thanks for coming on. He's joining us from US. I think it's morning right now. He just put a cooker.
Night actually.
Oh, sorry, night.
Yeah.
So, he's joining us from the US, and so he'll be talking a bit about, leadership in a very general sense in a student branch. So, first of all, I want to start off by asking, what was your responsibility as a vice chair of IEEE?
Okay. So you know that NSB was a technical student branch, right?
Yeah.
So there were usually two phases of it. So the one was, the phase where you had to deal with all the administration towards the college side, and another phase wherein you had to deal with the team and the organizing of the events and stuff like that. Mine was I was not into like dealing with the administration part. That was taken care by the chair. My roles were majorly to see how the team functions and make sure the team functions well, all the responsibilities are taken care of, and just make sure that whenever any new ideas are popped up, or you make sure that it makes sense, and nothing's like an overkill or something. You make sure that you even, it's kind of like a devil's advocate, especially that's what my role was being called when I asked my seniors, okay, how is the role? They're like, you open up any rule book or anything which we have, every person will have a role except you have to wing it. And it's like, what you have to do is you just make sure that you point out all the stuff beforehand, so that it doesn't it doesn't screw up in the actual part. So just make sure everything goes fine in a picture, in a big picture. That's what my role was.
I remember I had my stress interview. We're going to get to that in a bit, right? The famous NISB stress interviews. But I remember coming out of that, and I remember asking, what, you've taken this thing for chair, vice chair. And then I remember you telling me the vice chair is the guy who's the bad guy. Everybody hates the vice chair. The chair is a more diplomatic person. And the vice chair is the guy who has to tell, people what they don't want to hear. Right. So, what was your bad boy experience like?
Okay, so like any event pops up, right?
Yeah.
It's like everyone are like, "Hi, yeah, let's do this." This sounds like a good idea. And they turn to me. I'm like, "Are you sure? What about this? What about this?" And I'll start off with my list. And I want you. I like sometimes I feel bad for this, but like sometimes first I think I felt I should have told like, "Okay, this is a good idea," but what about this? I don't. I like in my in the flow, I forget the first part. I start off with the second part itself. So I used to be like, oh, what about this? And then it used to start with that. So like we used to have a long discussions. Yeah. And most of it was something like this, like whenever you plan an event, what are the stuff which goes in, what do you think will happen, will the audience like it, will the audience love it, or is it not going to be happening like that, or will it not be a hit out of it, or is it possible, is it within our budget, or if we try to increase the entry fees, like will people like it, or will people be interested to come. It was my part to ask all these hard questions, which in the starting itself people might not like it. They're like, oh, okay, don't harm our flow. But the thing is, instead of wasting our resources and time on that, it's good if we start off with a proper start, so that the foundation is good. So we had a lot of discussions like that.
No, aren't you the guy who says we want money, and the finance guy says, we can't give money because we need it for something else?
It's like the finance guy was always like kind of like that. Okay, it's like the treasurer is supposed to cut costs wherever it's possible, but
Yeah.
my part is even before it goes to the treasurer, even before this idea gets finalized, like once the idea gets finalized, then comes the budget, right? My part would have been like in the idea only, I would have found out something, and that would have caused everyone to fight with fight over it, but it was a very constructive talk all the time. It used to get a little extreme, but still, it was always constructive.
So, moving a bit from NISB, talking more general sense, I think every final year student can tell you that handling a project group is, I think, more about handling egos than the actual project. Okay. The project
Definitely.
is, something else. You have to make something, you have to make a rocket. But, convincing people that this is your idea, this is what we have to do is such a tough thing. So NISB or any student branch for that matter, I believe is highly motivated individuals, right? There's no money involved and they're coming voluntarily. So my question to you is, how do you manage highly motivated individuals with egos?
Okay. First, let me give you the example of the project itself, and I'll tell you how this differed from that. So let's say I have a course over here. I'm taking that course right now, and that was a team of 4. And the projects which we were doing, or the assignments which we were doing, for that was around 50% of our course weightage. So if we messed it up, pretty much, just, keep it in your mind that you're going to get a bad grade and your GPA is affected. So you have a driving factor right there that you have to do it. So I was able to register for the course pretty late. So I was not able to find a team. So at the start, I had literally put an email blast to everyone who was looking for a teammate saying, are you looking for a teammate? I'm up for it. There were a couple of people who mentioned to me at the first part itself that if push comes to shove, I'm not going to care about this assignment. This is not my higher priority and I don't care. And I met people like that. So, obviously I would only back out from those people, and I would choose something because, I want a good grade in the end of the day.
Correct.
So I ended up with a really good team, and, things were going really nice. So, and that time, it was still a pain. Like, just imagine if I would have come with a team, even though they're highly motivated, they don't have they have the ego in them thinking that, okay, I don't want to say them that I don't know this. I'm going to try it out myself. Even if I don't know, I'm going to tell them that I can do it. And they mess it up. And if things happen, it goes for a toss. Now, coming back to your scenario wherein it's a group like this, it's a student, no matter what, everyone would have their own image of what their right would be and what is a good thing for the organization as a whole, right? And no matter what you do, you cannot change that completely to align yourself with that. If you do that, it's like you are cloning yourself, and that is a wrong thing. That's almost like micromanaging. So it's the major issue or the major problem would have been everyone would face is trying to make sure you put the goal of what the organization is into which they understand, and somewhat aligning all of them, if not completely at least, to align them towards the big picture so that everyone forces themselves with the big picture. Everyone are bound to divert and do some stuff, but in the end all of them have to go through. So that is one of the major hurdles or something which you come through when you're doing this, so that everyone are highly motivated. Everyone are like, when I start working, I'm going to do this. When I start working, I'm going to do this. Even I had stuff like that in my mind, like, when I start working, this is what I'm going to do. And you should make sure that when that doesn't happen, you should make sure that they are ready to accept the fact that, okay, it didn't happen, and they should move on from it in a constructive way. That is one of the biggest tasks you have to handle, because that is where the ego comes into picture. Even though you're highly motivated and even though you mean good for the organization, let's say one of your ideas are shot down, or ego clash happens with teams. That always happens, no matter what happens. That always happens. That too because all of you are in the same year, all of you are supposed to be in the same level, right? So you obviously wouldn't like someone coming and telling you do this, do that all the time. Nobody likes someone poking. The situation would have been different if it was someone elder to you or with more experience, but that's not the case over here. So obviously it'll hurt on your ego if someone is coming and telling you all the time, like, you're an idiot, don't do this. This sounds like a stupid idea. Why are you even doing this? This is not going to help you. But in the end, like, that person would have put in so much time into getting that idea out and, formulating it and making sure it works. And then it comes and it gets shot down on the first day itself, or, it comes and you're like, when one person tells out and 15 people pounce on you and they're like, oh, what about this? What about that? You get overwhelmed with both things, good or bad. So that's when your ego kicks in. So the only way, you can get that is first, it's like, the say, the story, right? Putting a frog in, if you put a frog in boiling water, the first
Yeah.
time it's going to jump out, or if you slowly increase the temperature,
Yeah.
it's kind of like that. The first time you're going to get hurt like crazy, everyone, and afterwards you're going to start getting used to that, and then once you get used to how the hierarchy is and how people start working, and once you actually get to know the person, that's when the coordination or synchronization starts up. So that is why in many organizations, we don't go, not just our organization, any organization, they usually they make you volunteer or you work first, then you get to know who you're working with or who you're gonna work with, and then you're gonna go forward, and that should kind of bridge the gap.
Okay.
That's the thing.
So would you call yourself a very good motivator, or are you more hands-on person? Like, let me show you how to do it and then you can go on.
Me, okay. I would go with option 2 most of the time, but I do have my occasional rainy days where I'm actually the good guy, and
Yeah.
I go into the option 1. But most of the times, I tend to get ahead of myself, and I tend to go towards the part 2 sometimes.
No, because why I ask is, this NISB being a core is a 1-year project, right? You have to be together for 1 year. You have to get the magazine out, Jignasa, Manas. So, being in a project group for 3 months, 4 months, really tires people out. Okay. First, you want to build a rocket, and then the result is a paper plane. That's the kind of thing you're talking about. So, motivating people without money. If you pay a person 5,000 rupees to do a project, you can tell them whatever you want. Get to the deadline, you're behind time, do this, do that. But this is without money. These are individuals who are coming here for the love of technology. And how do that's the balance you have to create, right? The balance between, hey, you've done a good job, but we do this better, or you go outright and say you've done a bad job.
See, the thing is, in all, in the end, it's a compromise, right?
Yeah.
Because, let's say, if someone puts up an idea, we cannot, a sensible person would not, unless the idea is outrageous, you would not go, if you end up shooting it down, even if it's not outrageous, you're just spelling disaster for the entire team. Because, that's going to leave a bad mark, that's going to leave a bad impression in their mind as well, right? Saying that, oh, okay, this guy's shooting down whatever I say down, or this guy's not accepting to whatever I say. Rather, if you start compromising, take some aspects of that and, do it. And then whichever aspects don't work out, compromise on that and then, get it into that. If you start compromising and building it towards that, see, all in all, like I said, all in all, it is a motivated team who have a goal that is, see, it's like either, you want to volunteer, you want to get some, you're doing it for kicks, not essentially for kicks, but you like doing that. It's like you get the thrill and you like it. You like doing stuff like that. Or some people in the start, I know some people, like I've seen some people who they start off with maybe it look good on my resume, and once they start it off, they end up in it, not just because of the resume, they end up liking it. They like what's going on in the organization and stuff like that, and they continue to stick. They stick with you and they do that. So all in all, it's like it becomes a habit, like the end goal, the end goal, that is 1 year. The end goal, what you need to do within that one year. And the first couple of months might be a pain, but after that, it gets into a habit. It's like a cycle. So you get used to it. Okay. It's like, most of the times you have to spend time in meetings, and, most of the times you have to go do work. And, it's like, we had to hit a couple of events in this week or this month, and the events were planned and everything. So it kind of, it gets into kind of like a good monotony. Like you end up, getting into a monotony, which is actually good. So that, once you find your groove, you can keep going into, and then you can keep continuing. So that is where, even though if it's long term, managing a group gets better. Because once you get used to it, it's better. That's why.
So as a leader, as a vice chair, do you believe meetings are productive? I mean, how productive do you think meetings are?
It frankly,
Tough question.
it depends. It's a really tough question, and it depends on the moderator and the teammates.
Yeah.
Okay, like I've seen meetings which are of no use, and I've seen meetings which are of very productive. So that I've seen meetings where it all depends on the saying, right? Especially undergrads, as undergrad engineers, unless until the project is due next year or assignment is
Yeah,
due
yeah,
next year,
yeah.
we are not going to worry about it, right?
Correct,
So the
correct.
closer that deadline gets, the more tension is up under you to get things
Yeah,
working, right? So
yeah,
it all depends on good days or bad days. Sometimes uh, if even if the all of them start diverting onto a topic, it's a waste.
yeah.
And sometimes we have diverted on crazy stuff, like it just happens. We start talking about this and we start reminiscing, or we think about something else, and like everyone forgets that the agenda of this is that.
Yeah.
So it happens. There are times it's happened like that, and there are times when we came in and we wanted to get this done, and we got stuff more than that done without keeping track of the time.
Yeah.
So it's completely depends on a good day or bad day, because
Mm.
in an organization, what happens, you're getting like your job is on the line. You mess up something, and there's someone higher up to keep you in check.
Yeah.
For us, we are the higher ups, we are the ones who are taking care of everything. Our team is the one in as a whole who's looking at the entire thing. So we do have a crunch, so that keeps us in check. But that actually kind of keeps you pushing towards the making sure in the end, even though meetings might be extended for a lot of time, in the end it somewhat gets this one, because in the end someone would end up saying, oh, I'm getting bored, what is this, what is the point of the meeting, we are supposed to come to this. Everyone like, oh yeah, and then everyone gets back on topic.
Yeah.
So meetings are actually needed if you keep them short and concise.
So, when any something goes wrong, I mean, there have been situations where you have planned for an event, but for some reason or other, it doesn't happen. And you've planned so much, there's a lot of hard work which goes on. In such situations like this, who's the fall guy? I mean, has there been a situation where you've taken the blame for the team?
In the sense, yeah, there are situations which come up for that,
Yeah.
and let's not delve into the details, but yeah,
Yeah.
there are situations which come into that. And there are some situations where the entire team gets blamed for something, and it's a very big pain. And at those moments, trust me, it is a better job not to rise and start pointing fingers, and rather look at it as a constructive whole. And this is where your ego comes into picture. You
Mhm.
should be ready to accept that it's your fault. And many a times this has happened in the sense, like, not just because one person has messed up or screwed it up or something, but it never goes as we intended it to go. And in the end, we are all humans. Okay, so when we are dealing with other humans, the thing is, we know our team, we know our things, but we are dealing with a lot of external factors over here.
Yeah.
So let's say none of us would have anticipated it, and over there that comes up, and if we are not good enough to tackle it or something like that, or if that situation is where we couldn't have tackled it, there was no time, or something like that, then we have to, there is no other option, we have to end up dealing with the repercussions of what happens, right? So that has happened many times. And let's say that at such situations, it's good to sit with the team, talk about what happens, and then look at it constructively and see what happens. At the end of that, everyone, even if they don't come up and raise man saying, oh, I did a mistake, they they at least get to know, and they're like, oh, okay, this is what the entire team messed up as a whole, or this is where, oh, this is where in my role it could have been done better, my role it could have been done better, no, I should have done something like this. So in a way, if you're capable enough to put that picture in everyone's mind, so that the next time the same thing happens, if not the entire team, at least one person will be like, oh, this happened before, let's try something to beat this. Last time we tried this, that didn't happen, that didn't work out, we all know what happened, so let's do something else. So that's how, if you're a good, if you're a good guy, or if you're a good leader, if you are able to get that person into everybody's if you're going to get that image into everybody's mind, it's a good success actually, because everyone can't get it right all the time.
That's true, but why I ask this question is because is it important as a leader to be magnanimous always? I mean, there's a blame which has been one person's fault, but you, as the chair or the vice chair, you say that, okay, I'm the leader of the organization. This is my fault too. Is it correct for you to be, the fall guy for the larger audience, to be the hero for 12 people?
See, um, in my in our organization, no matter what, that's how it is. In No matter what happens, the whole in front of the audience or in front of anybody, that is, we are a team, and that's not going to change. And that will never go. That will change because that's how we always were and we always will be. So our if you take our juniors or our seniors or anyone, that is, it doesn't matter what happens, what extreme situation comes in. You know, I pretty much have that much trust on my teammates and on I've seen on people whom I've worked with, be it my seniors or juniors. If any situation comes and they're in front of an audience, they are not. They will. The first priority over there would be to not see whose fault it is or whose blame it is. That is later. That will be kept for later. The thing would be disaster control over there.
Mm.
And once everything is done, and then comes how to fix it. Like, how would it have been fixed, or why this happened? The fixing the cause and everything would have been later with the team, and that changes with respect to what the issue would have been.
Yeah.
So that is like a very vague thing, which varies from situation to situation.
Okay.
So let's say for example, I'm like, okay, let's say this, mm, we have our departments, right? Let's say we have a department, and our department is doing an event, and as usual, department will depend upon students as well. So let's say one student had to do something and he messed up. So obviously the department's gonna ask you later, like in the moment that nobody's gonna say, oh, it's his fault, that's why we messed up. The department is not gonna tell it out to anyone, because in front of it is the department's this thing. Later, obviously, you're gonna ask the department, or like the department's gonna call the student, why, what happened? And then if the student says, oh, okay, I was on my way here, I met with an accident, that's something which is not on anyone's control. Or what if the guy says, sorry, I messed up, I forgot, I slept late.
Yeah.
So the situation keeps changing, right? So this happens behind the scenes. This is not going to happen in front of the audience, or this is not going to happen in front of anyone.
Yeah.
So it varies, and the person to person also varies. The person who's taking the blame also varies. Like if the person steps up, and if the fault is sure that the person has done it, if the person steps up, well and good. If not, it's just to identify why it happened and make sure we don't make it happen again. That would be a priority rather than who takes the blame, because in the end it doesn't matter who takes the blame, as long as someone is ready to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Someone takes responsibility for the future. The person who is responsible for the fault, unless and until it's dire and it's a huge thing, the smaller ones can be, it's okay, that happens, everyone's human, so let's cover for that person, let's do that. That's what happens all the time.
Okay. So let's liven up the mood a bit. I'm going to come to my favorite part of this segment, which is called stress interviews. So imagine This is me. Okay, this is what stress interview does. That's it just rips you apart. Okay, it just takes away all your dignity. So NISB has this tradition, which I don't know how many years. Basically, takes all the execoms or the juniors, puts them individually in a room, surround all the seniors surround you in a semicircular way, look at you with laptops, and after half an hour you're gone, you're just finished. So I remember my experience, but I won't be talking about that. So I want to ask you, what was the intent or what was the purpose behind stress?
Okay, so if you look at the direct goal of it, you're going to end up with stress all the time when the event's done. Okay, you expect one thing to happen. Let's say one person has gone to get water bottles from somewhere. The most simplest thing, like you should go get water bottles. Get a couple of them. Get 4 of them from the bakery opposite. Simple as that. What happens if that person doesn't end up on time? You have dignitaries on the stage whom they're asking for water. You can't be like, I'll go there over there and go drink water from the filter, right?
Yeah.
Like, it messes up directly. Let's say the person is not picking up the call and you're not able to send anyone else to go get it. You don't know what's going to happen. You're sticking with that. You're sticking with the dignitaries. What would have been your stress that time? What would have been going through your head? Like, it's a simple thing. Water bottles. You can tell 1 sec, ma'am, I'll go get it. 1 sec, sir, or ma'am, I'll go get it, or whatever that is. But imagine this happening in a huge level, huge event wherein, it messes up bad. What happens there? If you're not ready for it, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's going to mess up. It's going to backfire on you bad. And trust me, there are situations where things are about to go very down south if you don't keep your calm and composure. There were many situations where that happened because you're dealing with people. See, if you're dealing with your team, you can hold them responsible. Let's say you're dealing with a person who's supposed to deliver you components. That guy calls you in the last moment. This actually happened. That guy calls you in the last moment and he's like, I'm not gonna go get it. I'm not gonna give it to you. I don't have it. I'm not gonna give it. What are you gonna do? I'm like, it's a deal. It's just a spoken word of agreement you have had with that person. What can you do? File a police case? No, that's not going to work out. So what are you going to do at that time? If you start stressing out, it's going to be bad, right? There were situations like that wherein, we had to go to SP Road. Like our seniors actually did this, and even I've done it many times. I had to go to SP Road and then go from all the way to Mysore and go get it, and then stuff like that. And we had to talk to a lot of people to get this done, and we had to use up our contacts, whom we know and stuff like that. So stuff, at that moment, if you're not calm, if you're not composed, these ideas are never gonna get into your head, right? If you're gonna start worrying about, oh my god, this is happening. It's like if you get a panic attack over there, that's not good, right? So that is the main goal. That is the major goal which you get. Okay, and there are other subtle but very important things which happen when you're in a stress interview. Okay, whenever you're in an interview, what happens? You do your due preparation, you study.
Right.
You kind of anticipate what's going to happen, right? That's there in any interview. Like you kind of prepare yourself and go there, and you will be composed as long as you know what's happening.
Yeah.
But your true thinking colors would have been out there, when you're stressed and you're not expecting what is being popped out to you or what is being given to you. That's the actual stress part of the interview because you don't know what to do immediately.
Yeah.
There's a time limit. There's a time crunch. It's not like, I'll go back, I'll Google about it, I'll see what's going to happen. You have to give a good answer. That's when your true instincts pop in, right? And most of the times, trust me, your instincts get the better of you and you end up taking decisions many times. Yeah. So this kind of to bring out your instincts and see what are you going to do in that situation. You normally won't get up your instincts if you're already prepared for it, right?
Okay.
This only comes up when you're not going to face it. So that was the subtle part of the stress interview. And the third part is, it also helps you in the future. You end up with a lot of interviews where even though, you expect like, this is what is going to happen, this is what is going to happen, you're going to mess up because of the stress. So this kind of prepares you for that. And trust me, it helped a lot.
Whatever diplomacy he's just talking right now is all very rosy. I can tell you people have come out crying out of the hall. Huh? Literally shock on their face.
But you do know what happens after that as well, right? See, all of us walk out.
I have never understood, whatever happens in the hall stays in the hall. What is this, Fight Club or something? So,
no,
I've noticed that, you were the nicest guy to me on that day, which was shocking. I thought you will, pour on to me. And people who I thought were the nicest people on the planet, they did a 180-degree turn, right? So, yeah, I get the point. You're trying to, build the future guys for, stress and how to handle people and all that. But in real life or in your NISB tenure, has there ever been where, some person very senior to you, maybe dignitary or faculty, without taking names, has it happened? They just, piled onto you and just rip you apart?
That has happened a lot of times, I've seen many of us, on the verge of breaking down. Even I was on the verge of breaking down a couple of times, and things used to get heated up like crazy because all in all, we are all a couple of students, right? Yeah. There are some things after our situation, it comes to a situation like you rise up your hands and like, I never signed up for this, mess it up. There are situations which happen. And coming back to, people running out of the hall crying, coming to that, let me address that. It's like, usually the moment, we sense it. Okay, the moment we see that happens, we actually stop. We like go drink water, take a break. Like obviously, even we are human, dude. We don't want to do that. But sometimes what happens, the dam breaks. Okay, before we could even say anything, the dam breaks for the person in front of us, and you have no idea how guilty and how sad we feel. Ask any one of them, all 15 of us, even like all how many of our co-members are there, all of us would have had as faces over there, sitting over there with, shifting. Every one of them will become so guilty and will start, making us like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you fine? Because in the end, whenever we are doing that, you guys, we have worked with you guys for so long. We care about you guys. You're not some random dude or random person who are there in front of me whom I don't care. You're not like just a blank of sheep, because it's a small world in NA. You end up knowing pretty much every person who's with you. So it's like even we get very guilty, the moment that happened, you can ask any one of them. We go running behind them. Okay, we're like, okay, calm, it's okay, it's fine, and then we have to do a lot of disaster control. And then actually, some of them are broken down, and after that, they come back, they're very strong. Okay, they're like, oh fuck, I'm not gonna do this again. And they actually, their behavior changes immediately after they get themselves composed. That is also one really good thing I've noticed with people.
Okay.
So it's like, it's a fun thing, like not a fun thing per se, but like it's a kind of like a learning curve, and trust me, we do not want that to happen. Our goal is not to make anyone cry,
but you do have fun, huh? You do have, I really think you guys have a ball, doing those interviews.
Not exactly. Okay, it's like not like a ball per se. It's like, see, let's say I'm an interviewer. Let's say you're an interviewer. You're asking me a question. You clearly know that I bullshitted my answer. You clearly know that. Okay. What will you do if you're an interviewer in a job? Leave an organization, leave a student branch, leave everything. You are a legit company interviewer. You come. Okay. You ask me a very good, simple or hard question. You ask me a question. I know that I don't know. Okay. You would have told me clearly. If you don't know, tell you don't know. If you bullshit your way through, what would be on your mind? You either would directly tell on your face that, you're not worth it, get out. No, you're not bullshitting. Or you end up, going deeper into it and, trying to make sure either, you are bullshitting your way through it, or it actually makes some sense, right? So it may like that, right? So that is the part where, it seems like, we are having fun, but we actually want to probe deeper. And, if it becomes painstakingly obvious and you still try to, cover it up, it gets funny for us as well. Like, it's like a simple thing. Okay, like you ask what is C, I'm like, oh, C is a programming language is C, and then you end up, you are having fun with it, because that person is is that. After you end it also, if he's not ready to let go, he or she, that's no choice. But we don't have it's not like, oh my god, let's have fun with this guy. That was never our intention.
So I just want to ask one question, which I also have a lot of doubts about. So imagine you're part of a group and you want the group to go in one way, but sometimes you have a feeling that, boss, this is not working out. Maybe I can try my luck somewhere else, right? I think this has happened with a lot of people, right? Personally, in my own project group, I've actually left the group because I was really angry. Things are not working out. So or someone else is trying to leave the group. How do you convince that person to stay, or how do you convince yourself to stay? That maybe the short term this is a very short-sighted decision, but in the long term I think this is going to work out.
See, for that, it depends on why the person wants to leave, or why the person is not aligning towards your goal. Okay, if it's for something out of anger or frustration, or because of a reason which they think is a which is a misunderstanding, like it's a their perception of that reason is something which is different, and which you can clear it up. Okay, then it's definitely you end up convincing them. You have to make them understand, give them the space, let them rant it out, and then do it. Excuse me. So you do it. That's how that works out in case one. Case two, when you have no motivation and you're like, this is not what I signed up for, I do not like it. Okay, if that is the scenario, and if that this is not what I signed up for is again due to a misconception, it falls back to case one. But if not, it's like they don't want to do it, they don't like it. And if them staying with you on a group is not going to help, then there's no point in trying to convince them. Make sure they're clear on what they are thinking and what the implications are if they leave and they don't leave.
Okay.
And if they're fine with it, and they are crystal clear with what they want, and if that doesn't align with our thing, obviously it won't help, right? See, let's take an example. You're in an organization like NISB where you're not getting paid. What if one person comes and tells that my goal is, let's make how much of a profit we want from all the events, whatever money is remaining from the profit, let's split it between ourselves. That is my goal. I'm here for that. I don't care about anything else. No matter what you convince that person, if that is his main goal, his or her main goal, that's not going to work out, right?
Yeah.
That might be a little bit more harmful. But let's say that, let's a person is like, I want to leave because I don't like that person over there. And that person, we have had a lot of fights and I don't like it. And it's what are those fights? Like, he or she doesn't like whatever I say. And we just don't sync. It's things like that. Those are actually those are the reasons which you can actually work on, right? As a team or, as an individual. So motivating them to make sure and giving them an option saying that, okay, you can work, and convincing them that it's a valid option which you can do. It's not like, oh, I don't like this option. You should convince them to give it a before taking that.
Yeah.
That would be a major task in convincing them. It gets really frustrating. Sometimes, there are situations where sometimes, the person who they don't like is you, but you are the one who's still supposed to go and convince.
Oh, yeah.
It happens, and it's crazy. Things get crazy down south very fast that time, but it's fun. Like, those are things which you can work on, right? That is the time you must keep your egos aside.
Okay. So, just to end this very, very interesting discussion, I want to start off saying that I started off the discussions talking about leaders, right? Great leaders, what traits they have. But as a senior, third year, you guys are course, you obviously have first and second is looking up to you. So you can't, do you think that having these worldly virtues like, be the best you can, or, uphold yourself to be the best and all that? Or do you prefer being a leader who's more practical, who's more down to earth and more friendly? I mean, how's it?
So in the sense, when you talk about those virtues or something, like, can you explain what you mean on that? Can you elaborate on what you mean by that, all those things?
Yeah. So, stuff like, honesty is the best policy. Be very straightforward in whatever you do. So that's the thing, right? Being straightforward doesn't always work, right? Doesn't always work. You have to be a bit diplomatic sometimes.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah. So what is the role model, or what kind of leader do you want to be to your juniors?
So this is a very, it's like a very tough question. And, it is like, how do I put it? It majorly depends on person to person.
Yeah.
And it depends on the situation to situation. Okay. It's like, how do I put it? So let's say that, you're working with it's rather based on projecting yourself onto. It matter. You might think that, it's going to work just because, I'm the only one who's involved in the big picture. That's not going to happen. Let's say that, let's say I have a junior A and junior B. So if junior A expects something out of what a good leader is, and junior B expects something out of what a good leader is, they change, right? Like, the perception of how they look up to you changes as well. Yeah. It's like some people look up to you for that quality of yours. Some other people look up to you for what quality they choose as what is a perfect guy for that role. So in a sense, leadership matters upon what the role is, and leadership matters upon how they look up to you. But one thing is definitely common between no matter what, that is your first impressions matter, and your merit matters. Because before they even get to know you, the thing which speaks about you to anyone that is, and get a good impression, and start off on a good note, is what you have done before. That is your merit and your impression with other people. If they come in with a bad picture about you, it's going to be extra hard, right, to convince them to listen to you, align to you. And in the end, no matter what, you're supposed to make sure that things go right. So you're supposed to and when you're supposed to ensure that, you're supposed to talk to people, and, they're like not supposed to, they will end up, taking your points in. And if they block you out completely without even bothering to listening about what your points are, then it's of no use, right? So, like, it depends on the situation, plus your role. Let's say, for example, you have, let's say, in an organization, uh, let alone like in your workspace itself, let everything go. You have a project manager and you have a people manager. Many companies prefer to do that. So the name before the manager makes a lot of difference. So if you're a project manager, what would be your emphasis on? Your emphasis would be on the deadline set and everything like that, right? You make sure the people do your work. And what does a people manager do? You make sure that the people are satisfied and they're at the full productivity. So both of them are good leaders, but the goals are completely different.
Yeah.
Right. So, people manager can be like, he can be like a completely magnanimous person, saying that, he can be a benevolent person. Saying, okay, that's fine. It's okay. It's fine. You messed up this time. Okay. It's good. It makes sense. But let's say what he messed up would have been told by the project manager, specifically not to myself.
Yeah.
So, like, things go down south in the project manager's view, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the project manager's perspective, it's a different thing altogether. The way he's supposed to fix it changes. The people under him might or might not like it. Whoever is working with him or her might not like it. It's a very, very hard question for me to answer, without getting, without telling things which would be wrong in most of the situations, because it's very situation specific.
Having said it's a hard question, you've answered for 3 minutes now. it's like an engineer who doesn't know the answer but writes for 10 pages. So
We have it in our, we have grown up, bro. It's like they ask us, for 8 marks, you just wrote this much. I've come across people who have asked me that in NI itself, so makes sense.
So just to end the discussion, your thoughts on Arvind Raju?
Okay, ask him to play home sweet home with lights off and, in the midnight, after 12 or something, that's where the funny part gets into picture.
Okay.
Or ask him to get up at 8 o'clock and see what happens when, when there is no goal or something, like, when you guys are not going to go out, there's no trekking or something which is supposed to be done early morning.
Yeah.
Even if that is there, ask him to wake up. That is, you'll get your thoughts on Arvind Raju. But he's a cool guy, dude.
Yeah.
A very nice roommate to have,
Yeah. So, man, but it's been a great discussion. I think on leadership.
I loved it.
Yeah, student qualities and all that. So I think we'll end the episode here. So thanks, Adi, for coming on.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for inviting me, and I hope I was able to, answer some questions, and I hope I was not able to mess up things of, what people are expecting, and I give out to something crazy thing. Like, I hope things actually where things made sense. So, thanks a lot for inviting me over. This was fun, dude. This was fun. It was nice catching up with you after so long.
Yeah, no, I think it went well, and definitely the catching up. And so I think I'd end the episode saying that stay home, stay safe, and see you. Bye.
Yes, Jai Maheshmati. See you guys. Stay safe.